Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corn Productions here to talk about The X-Files, Season 1, Episode 9, titled Space. The episode's description reads as follows. When a space shuttle mission is sabotaged, Mulder suspects it may be the work of an alien spirit that inhabits the body of a former Gemini astronaut. The episode was written by Chris Carter, and the episode was directed by William Graham. He has 125 directorial stints, 3 episodes of this series. The second episode he did was EVE, which was the much improved episode over this one. He died on September 12th, 2013, and the episode originally aired on November 12th, 1993. Before going any further, I'll tell you a couple of things. One, this is not a spoilery podcast. If you haven't watched the episode, I highly recommend you go and check it out, and then come back and give me a listen. Secondly, if you're listening on one of the platforms that this podcast is now available on, please follow and feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Corn Productions, where additional content can be discovered. If you're already on my YouTube channel, please like, share, and comment, as well as subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell so you get notified when new content drops. So, yeah, I originally recorded this episode a long time ago. Unfortunately, there was some kind of glitch, and half my audio went missing. So, it was a while before I got back to it, which is now. I basically just decided to re-record the audio altogether. We go from one of the strongest episodes, that would of course be Ice, to one of the weakest episodes. Not to mince words here, but this episode is atrocious. Really, really bad. I can't say it's the worst in the entire series, because with over 200 episodes to choose from, there are plenty of candidates for that title. The effects are bad, Mulder and Scully are basically spectators, and the acting is awful. This is the episode that I was watching when my mom said that the show would not survive if the acting continued to be this bad. Both Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny are brutal in this episode, along with the guest actors. The fandom is mostly with me on this episode, but I should point out that there are, of course, some supporters of it. This was intended as a bottle episode, shot in one location, using plenty of stock footage, but it ended up with the most expensive episode of the first season because of the construction of the NASA set, which isn't really all that impressive. The interior shots were filmed at an old Molson brewery site. Visual effects supervisor Matt Beck had only 4 days in which to complete special effects for this episode, which could explain why they were not very good. Getting into the scene by scene, the episode begins with news footage talking about a face that showed up in an image on Mars. The news reporter is played by Norma Jean Wick. With 38 acting credits, she has 3 appearances on the series, all as a reporter. She also showed up in The Lone Gunman for a singular appearance. She's also in the series Sliders, which me and Stacy may end up covering at some point. In addition to being an actress, apparently she actually was a freelance news reporter as well. She's interviewing Colonel Bell, played by the late Ed Lauder, who I remember from a 5th season episode of Star Trek Next Generation, The First Duty, as a grieving father. I remember commenting to my Uncle Gary that I didn't like him. He thought I meant the character. What I really meant was the actor, and this is mostly for shallow reasons. He has very unconventional looks. He has an impressive acting resume, however, appearing in 208 separate acting projects. Among them, he also appeared in JAG, The A-Team, Millennium, and Not Another Teen movie as a coach of a football team with Chris Evans. I remember that one pretty clearly. It was actually a pretty funny performance. We see Colonel Belt in his office looking at pictures of Mars. He has trouble sleeping, as he flashes back to a space mission that he was involved in, which I guess is the one in which he became possessed by an alien, as, is a typical day at the office. He sees a face in the ceiling, which comes at him and makes a horrible screeching noise, and then we have our credits. When we come back, we are at a launch, and spoiler alert, this launch does not go very well. We have a failure to launch. We cut to 2 weeks later. Mulder and Scully are outside. Mulder's chewing on sunflower seeds, as he does throughout the series, and Scully asks about a note Mulder got. I feel like we're missing a scene or something here. The note says that a person from NASA wants to talk to someone from the FBI, and when you know it, it's Fox Mulder that is going to end up talking to her. They are soon greeted by Michelle, played by Susanna Thompson, who played the Borg Queen on 3 episodes of Star Trek Voyager. Actually, that kind of surprised me a little bit because I thought she was a bigger presence within that series, but I guess not. But then again, she was also replaced by the original Borg Queen from First Contact, Elise Kriege, for the series finale. She has 57 acting credits for her, and she's still acting. She also happened to appear on Arrow as a regular. She is the mission control specialist at NASA, and she has reason to believe that there's a saboteur in their midst. She explains the shuttle we saw in the previous scene likely would have exploded if not aborted. The evidence looks like sabotage, but the person who pointed her in their direction said that they have experience with unexplained phenomenon, and from the looks of things, there was no way to do that much damage without detection. She wants an investigation because her fiancé is set to command this mission, and she thinks that might sound a little bit selfish. And yeah, I guess it is a little bit selfish, but at the same time, it's kind of understandable. Mulder and Scully go to Houston. He gets excited to see Colonel Belt because it turns out Mulder is a big space nerd. You know what they say, never meet your heroes. So if there's anyone out there who thinks of me as a hero, well, you probably shouldn't meet me because I'm anything but. Belt doesn't have any reason to suspect sabotage and doesn't see a reason to postpone the mission. And his attitude is quite hostile, but he agrees to let them watch the mission from Mission Control. The agents talk to a scientist played by Tom McBeath. He has 182 credits, including 11-episode stint on Stargate SGU, and he's never seen the picture that Michelle gave them before. In the middle of the conversation, we have a pan-up where we see Belt casting suspicion on Belt, and it is kind of a weird pan-up. It's not very often that I see a shot like that in a mainstream show. Mission Control, Mulder and Scully watch. The mission goes off without a hitch, exciting Mulder and Scully, who continues to geek out as they leave. But as they do, they are informed by Michelle that something with the shuttle went wrong. The agents follow Michelle in a rainstorm, and she happens, they're doing this in a car, and she happens to be run off by a mysterious face that scares her into a car accident. Mulder and Scully go to assist, and much to my surprise, she's still very much alive. It must be the Borg tech in her. She describes something coming at her in the fog, a grotesque face. Hey, Michelle, come on, don't be so mean. The face could be listening. You're going to hurt the face's feelings. She returns to the station, tracking the shuttle, which I guess is somewhere over Africa, blah, 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 boring tech stuff. They go in search of a guy interfering with communications and happen upon a scared-looking dude. It was just a guy trying to fix the problem. Mulder orders the building search for the saboteur, of course. More boring tech talk in Mission Control. Belt looks at himself in the mirror of the bathroom horrified, and you know what? I had a very similar reaction when I see his face. And yes, I know I was not going to make a ton of Ed Wilder being ugly jokes because I'm trying to respect the dead, but there are times where I just can't quite help myself. Belt has a press conference in which he doesn't mention any problems with the launch, which surprises and disappoints Mulder. Mulder asks why. He gives him a diatribe answer about only being recognized when they screw up, and that's something I can kind of relate to. Belt at home has some more flashbacks. His face morphs into some kind of alien, and then an entity floats out of him. Belt reaches for it, and he misses his friend. The people on the shuttle notice something above the ship. Apparently there's an O2 leak of some kind. Belt isn't here, and they can't find him. You know, this kind of makes me want to watch the movie Apollo 13, which, by the way, is a way better piece of media than this episode is. Mulder goes to Belt's apartment to tell him there's a problem, and hey, why is this Mulder's job? Doesn't Mulder have investigation things to do? They find Belt. Belt goes to the control room and gives a series of orders that seems to put the men's lives at risk. I'm going to have to take their word for it because I have no idea what's going on here. And this angers and upsets Michelle. Scully and Michelle think Belt is losing it, while Mulder is still defending him. In Mission Control, Belt ends up screaming and collapsing. And yes, Ed Lauder, this episode is quite bad, so this reaction is quite appropriate. Mulder and Scully goes through the records and finds evidence that Belt knew about the defect all along. They find Belt curled up in the fetal position, whimpering, much like I did when I was watching this episode. Belt begs them to help him, and I'm sorry, sir, but you are beyond help. You agreed to appear in this episode as a guest star. Now you sit there and take your medicine. Michelle says she's going to bring the shuttle down, but Belt just screams no and says it's out there while being very vague as to what it is. Mulder asks him if he sabotaged the shuttle, and he cries no, but he couldn't stop them from doing so. They briefly see the base, as he dies. Michelle again decides to bring the shuttle down. Belt is saved and tells Mulder that the only chance to save them is to change their re-entry trajectory. The space shuttle survives re-entry, and as it turns out, so do the astronauts, and everyone celebrates. At the hospitals, the aliens cause Belt to jump out of a window to die. Mulder says something must have possessed him, and blah blah blah, the episode is over, and I'm kind of curious what possessed the writers and creators to make this episode. Yeah, like I said, not a very good episode. The next one, Fallen Angel, is a significant improvement over that one, or this one rather, and I'm looking forward to talking about that one. But yeah, this one bored me as a kid, and it still bores me now, so there's no real improvement as far as rewatchability. Basically, I think that Carter was too ambitious in his thinking for an episode that was supposed to be a bottle show, and that the effects to do what Carter wanted to do at this time weren't really there. And on top of that, the acting just is not particularly great. So, I think Carter was trying to do something here that ultimately did not work. That's all I got for you. If you like this video and want to support the channel, there are a number of ways to do so. You can join my Corn Productions Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at Corn Productions. You can buy something from the Corn Productions store on Zazzle. You can buy me a copy, which is a way to support content creators such as myself. And of course, you can like, share, and comment on this video, as well as subscribing